Most plant-based diets don't fail because the food is unhealthy or that it's an inherently deficient way to live. None of that nonsense. It's simply that people are taking the wrong approach, proverbially shooting themselves in the foot when they're actually sitting on a gold mine, because the nutrition properties of many of the foods under the plant-based umbrella, well, it's maybe slightly woo-woo sounding, but this is life-giving food, nourishing food, right? You're sitting on the winning formula. People don't always know, though, how to implement it in the right way. I've been coaching now vegans and plant-based dieters for 7 years, making videos online for almost a decade, so that's thousands of conversations. I see the same 5 problems with plant-based eating done over and over. That's what we're going to discuss today. Before we get into it, very quickly, meal of the day. If you're new, this is what we do. I just like to show what I'm eating lately to give you some meal ideas and inspiration. This is just a soy yogurt bowl with kiwi, mango. You won't be able to make all of this out. Some chopped date, some hemp seeds sprinkled over there. This is, for me, frankly, a very large snack. It's not quite meal level, but yeah, this is a great night finisher, right? If you want to get into the ice cream, just make yourself a nice little yogurt bowl, add some fruit. Love it. First problem, and by far and away the biggest stumbling block I see people come across, no overarching structure. Most people doing the plant-based thing pretty randomly. They're sort of just improvising, taking recipes that they see online. They walk down the grocery store, they have these new vegan burger patties, I'll give that a go. Trying to recreate the meat and dairy laden meals with the vegan substitutes. This can cause all kinds of problems in terms of fluctuating caloric intake. Maybe you're not getting all the nutrients that you need. Maybe you're imbalanced in terms of the macronutrients being carbohydrates, protein and fat. Protein is the very obvious one that people sort of fear about with the whole plant-based thing, but it's possible that you might too be getting too much protein, never mind too little protein. And when I say too much protein, I mean relative to your fat and carbohydrate intake. What about your fiber and how that might fluctuate? It's very easy to get enough fiber on a plant-based diet. That's not a difficult task at all, but some people go from eating 10 grams of fiber only per day, which is seriously under eating fiber before they go plant-based, to suddenly eating 30, 35, 40, 50 grams of fiber per day. That's a lot for the gut to tolerate. Maybe you're having some gas and digestive discomfort as a result. And so not having necessarily ground rule structure, improvising, just doing random eating, collecting recipes, copy and pasting, giving it a go, it can be really fun, and it's a really simple way to get started because you don't have too much that's boxing you in, there's no rules, so it's kind of this big exciting experiment. But at the same time, when you do then have problems, it's hard to know what lever to pull because the way you're eating is so random. And so what you do need, I find, is things to box you in a little bit and just give you that overarching structure and some ground rules. That doesn't mean using Chronometer to track your calories and see that you're getting enough selenium, magnesium, fiber, vitamin C every single day. No, that's the real deep end, precise approach, yes. But really you can just start with the ground rules that I'm always talking about here. I've been talking about for years, again, just to box you in a little bit, such as a rule of thumb, 2 cups of dark leafy greens per day, 1 cup of low-calorie berries per day, 2 servings of beans, lentils, tofu, or tempeh per day. Like, these are the ground rules that I've been talking about for years here that just, again, contain you from all of that random eating a little bit. The idea of pairing a whole grain or potato with the legume. These are all things, part of the slim and sustain shtick that I've been talking about for years on this channel here, to just, again, box you in, give you something that's really clear to work with, and no, it's not super precise like tracking everything under the microscope, but it at least gives you some boxes to check that'll ensure, yeah, my protein is going to be decent relative to my carbohydrate and fat intake. Yes, I am going to get my omega-3s and my omega-6s because I'm having that 1 tablespoon of flax, chia, or hemp seeds per day. Like, these are the ground rules that they just silently sort of make sure that you're taking care of many of the things you need to take care of without having to chronometer. Oh my goodness, am I getting all of my nutrients? Panic, panic, panic. Second problem, there's no calorie awareness. And we should give some context here. Like, most people before they go plant-based don't have that much calorie awareness either. So this is not inherently a plant-based issue. But what you'll often see is people falsely diagnosing the problems they have with plant-based eating as, oh no, this is a plant-based exclusive problem I'm having. My body is rejecting this way of eating. I'm gonna go back. This really isn't healthy for me. Rather, it might just be a caloric issue. What I so often see when people add all of the whole plant foods to their diet is their calories actually come down. Now, this can be a massive advantage, of course, from a weight loss perspective, which is the vast majority of my chat. Slim and sustain. the clue's in the name. Like, we do a lot of weight loss stuff here, can sound like a really good thing, and it can be a great opportunity to lose some weight here. But simultaneously, if you drop your calories too low, that's going to lead to all kinds of problems in terms of fatigue, energy, mood swings, so on and so forth. You're going to drop weight so radically that it might not be that healthy for you. And so what so often happens is people then end up suppressing this crazy level of hunger. Like, they've got all of these cravings for the calorie-rich foods they used to eat, not knowing that really if they could just bump their calories by maybe a couple of hundred per day, they'd feel so much more satisfied. What I see with plant-based eating is it's very easy to stay full, but that isn't necessarily the same as being truly satiated, truly nourished, getting all of the nutrients and calories, in other words, energy that you actually need from food, versus just feeling full because there's so much volume, so much fiber, so much bulk with a lot of these low-calorie plant-based foods. So yeah, no calorie awareness. And of course, this goes the other way as well, right? Some people assuming, oh, being plant-based, I heard this is a really good thing for losing weight. They switch and they actually notice, oh, I'm not dropping weight, or worse yet, I'm actually gaining weight. I heard this was amazing for weight loss. What's that about? Again, not knowing that, well, the driver here is calories. And again, this isn't a plant-based problem. It's just your calories have increased and you're not paying that much awareness and attention to it. So yeah, this is what we'll see a lot, is people like radically undereating or overeating and then blaming the plant-based thing. Again, instead of actually, I just wasn't that diligent with my calorie intake. And again, like, this is not a plant-based problem because most people don't have a clue how many calories they eat and need every single day. And the solution to this, again, I'm not proposing that you need to track your calories every single day, but if you are experiencing like low energy, fatigue, if you're not always feeling that satisfied, it just could be a simple calorie fix and you need to just jump up those calories slightly. You're going to feel incredible on this approach. Third problem, too many recipes. The internet, especially social media, treats plant-based nutrition like, oh, it's a cooking hobby rather than like a nutrition methodology or lifestyle. And I really don't like that because it develops a lot of like foodieism, like recipe fetish, I always call it, where people are they're so aroused and excited by, oh, I've got to try this, I've got to try this plant-based thing, I've got to try, oh, now I'm doing the plant-based thing, so I've got to recreate my favorite, animal product meal, and it doesn't quite work because the substitute's never the same. Yeah, what this often leads to is a lot of overwhelm because people don't know how to necessarily direct, therefore, their daily diet, because there's all these amazing, and they are good, like amazing recipe books and resources out there for plant-based eating, but again, very overwhelming. And then subsequently, like this decision fatigue, I would call it, to where people, they're so tired of having to think, well, what do I need to eat every day to actually, number one, enjoy this whole plant-based thing, two, make sure I'm getting all the nutrients that I need, three, if you want to drop a bit of body fat that, well, it's going to be calorically suitable for that as well. Oh, I'm trying to put on some muscle right now. How do I ensure that, again, my diet's facilitating that? Like, whatever the health and fitness goal is, to like check all of those boxes. Like this is why people just go, oh my goodness, just I'll order takeout, or I'll just go back to hand over the animal products again because it's controlled, because I know it, because it's familiar to me. This is all rather overwhelming. My best health and fitness results have come when I follow very repeatable meals. I eat basically the same foods, the same meals every single day, which is like, that's quite a boring concept to some people, but this really maximizes your control and it just makes everything so simple. Like, the grocery list is really short, the meal prep, the thinking that you have to do around food is really, really minimal. And I call this low-hanging fruit mentality. You're making it so easy to succeed on a plant-based lifestyle. There's barely any excuses because it's just, I eat the same couple of meals. Like, every week I eat this core rotation of 5 to 6 meals. That's not a lot of variety. It's very easy to manage, and this can combat so much the overwhelm, the recipeism, the recipe fetish. And also what's really important with this is when you're then having a problem, such as I'm not dropping weight when I wanted to, I feel a little bit weak, my energy is lacking, you can actually better troubleshoot it because you're eating the same foods every day. Whereas, remember point number one, where I'm talking about all the scatty, chaotic, random, improvised eating, it's really hard to nail down what's working and what isn't. With this approach of just having repeatable meals, you can control the calories better because you know what's going in your body every single day because it's not changing. When you do need to actually make a tweak, well, your diet's so clear in front of you, you can pull a lever, bang, get things moving, fix the problem problem much more efficiently. Reason number 4, most plant-based diets fail to max health. The diet becomes too extreme. Too extreme, that's subjective, isn't it? So I'm going to be careful with this one. I think a lot of people call diets extreme as sort of copium to continue indulging in their bad habits. It's really convenient, isn't it, to blame all the hardcore, extreme, restrictive diet rules. It's like anyone promoting healthy eating nowadays is sort of labeled as a food extremist, and that's disordered eating. I don't conform to any of that new age drivel. That's a bunch of nonsense. So what I would say is too extreme, though, to cut to the chase, is any restriction in question that is unrealistic or it's actually needless. And I would say there's corners of the plant-based space that teach versions of plant-based eating that are slightly unrealistic, and maybe some of the things they cut out in the diet, like completely eliminating the healthy fats, for example, I find to be unnecessary and actually could lead to a backward step in one's health. And so this is why I have this kind of policy, or I mean, this is one example, but I have this policy of sort of 90% whole foods, which leaves wiggle room for what you see in front of you now, something that's technically a processed food. The yogurt. I said that like my friends across the pond. Yogurt, darling, is how we do it. So like the yogurt here, and this is the caveat, is the processed foods I do have, I'm picking the healthier versions that still have decent fiber intact. They're still minimally processed. There aren't too many added nasties. I'm not perfect with this, but added nasties and chemicals and such. They still have a relatively low calorie density. The cereals like bran flakes and muesli are good quality, minimal ingredient, whole wheat, rye, sourdough bread. That's what I mean, a good soy yogurt with not too many things on the ingredients list, because some of the plant milks and plant yogurts, there are a few chemicals thrown in. And so this is what I mean, is just having that wiggle, like I still eat bread, and like for some people that's absolute treason. Cutting out the fats, for example, like avoiding the fruit because, well, it spikes, blood sugar, which is a different video for a different day to combat that one. But again, I like to eat from all the food groups. I want to get all the nutrients, macro included nutrients that I need, carbs, protein, and fat. And as long as I'm eating sort of 90% whole foods, for me, that's good enough. You might have a different standard for yourself. That's perfectly fine. Who am I here to judge? This is the way I like to do things. I think there are a lot of people, they come in with this sort of Puritan, I'm going to do strictly whole foods, strict. And actually, they might make the diet a little bit more realistic and enjoyable for them personally if there was a little bit more wiggle room to do a plant yogurt, to do a little bit of maple syrup, even though that's technically refined sugar, right? Just to bring an otherwise healthy meal to life with, like I say, a bit of maple syrup or stevia. It's technically processed, but I actually consider it natural. I love stevia. I'm a big fan of stevia. I think it's appropriate to use, fine to use on a healthy, weight loss encouraging plant-based diet. But for some people, again, well, that's technically processed. We don't like stevia. Don't do that stevia thing. So I make these concessions and it makes it more realistic and sustainable for me. That's why I've been doing this for 10, going on 11 years now. And finally, reason number 5, why most plant-based diets fail to max health. And you know what? This one is the elephant in the room, because you could actually be getting a lot of the stuff I've talked about today right. You could be going through this video thinking, you know what, Ryan, I've thought about this. Check. Well, I'm doing pretty well here. This is good, but something still isn't right. I'm still not quite getting the results I want. I still don't feel quite satisfied, energized, I don't know what it is all necessarily, but something doesn't quite feel right about this. What about your consistency? Because I will see a lot of people blame this way of eating when actually they didn't really give it a fair shake. And they're kind of doing the Monday to Friday thing. Saturday rolls around and they scarf down that 2,000 calorie pizza. There's beers, cocktails, wine night on Fridays. There's chocky here and there. Or maybe they have a really good day of plant-based eating. Again, following some of the ground rules I've spoken about today. They slam a bunch of ice cream at night and give in to that craving. Look, we all make mistakes. Me, certainly, I like to think I'm very transparent about this stuff here, but I'm more consistent than I am inconsistent. I also have a commitment that I get back on track when I do slip up, and I get back on track from the next meal. Even if I'm not always perfect, I always come back to the principles that I've spoken about throughout this video. A lot of people, let's call a spade, they flake at the first hurdle, right? Or they get that social invite and they don't necessarily handle the meal out in the right way, and then, oh, well, one thing is broken, I've messed up now. Like, that's basically ruined the whole week, the very doomsday all or nothing mentality. most people, if there's a crack in the dam, the whole thing, the whole house of cards is going to come down. Any more metaphors I can throw into this that I can think of, I don't know. I've done them all, I think. But you catch my meaning here. What about the consistency level? Can you really say that you've given this a fair shot and truly, truly committed? And yeah, that's why we have to finish with problem number 5. This one had to be included because you could actually be nailing a lot of this stuff today, but if you're not actually that consistent about it, are you really going to be reaping the rewards that this incredible approach nutrition can bring? I would say no. And look, again, we're all susceptible to cravings, the emotional eating. Maybe there's some temptation to go back. Maybe there's some doubt about, oh, am I getting all the nutrients that I need? I don't judge you or shame you for that. I want to answer those questions honestly and sincerely and give you the information that you need to thrive with this way of eating. But a lot of people don't have any sort of troubleshooting staying power. They don't. It's just the first hurdle. It's like, oh no, drama. Panic, panic, panic. I've got to return. I've got to go back. And again, I have sympathy for this because you've been eating a certain way for a long time. That's your comfort ceiling. That's your default. And so, yeah, naturally you might sort of homeostasis, you might sort of gravitate back to that, but just a bit of staying power to work through this, really give this a fair shot, stay consistent, and then judge the results. Not be in, out, 1 foot in, 1 foot out, do it for 2 weeks and then give up so easily and say, oh, I'm not sure about this plant-based thing. Give yourself a chance to actually change, deploy a bit of patience here, and it's amazing how your taste buds, your gut bacteria, your habits, of course, your food routines, your beliefs, your mindset, all just slowly sync with this incredible way of eating to where it starts to feel genuinely normal to you and not so much like hard work anymore. Key lesson or takeaway then when I look at these 5 problems, I would say the real solution here isn't just eat plant-based, to literally take the food habits you have before, and well, now you're just doing the plant-based thing, like totally random eating, improvised recipes, no real structure, not sure how many calories, if you're getting all the nutrients you need, etc., like maybe snacking way too much, you still eat loads of chocolate, it's just now vegan chocolate, right, without the milk. And that's what people do, they just transfer to this way of eating, but they've still got the same food habits and behaviors and mindset. No, you want a structured way to eat a plant-based diet that gets you all the nutrients that you need, that's going to help you feel your best self. But then, as I've just spoken about for a couple of minutes, you need to deploy the consistency required to actually get results, and that is the life changer. If, like my clients, you want to get in your best shape ever as a vegan or plant-based dieter, this is exactly what I help folks do inside Slim and Sustain. Structure plant-based meals, calorie targets that I've factored in for you. I handle all of the numbers. Simple, this is really important, repeatable meals that you actually enjoy, built to your food preferences, and thus a plan that you can actually sustain for more than 2 weeks now, and that in time starts to feel normal to you because you're following it so long, you're building all your habits, mindset, behavior, etc., to where it's not a diet anymore. This is just how I eat. If that's what you want, this is exactly what Slim and Sustain is designed for. Put the link to apply and get all the details down below. See you in the next video.